Good evening, everyone. My name is Moses. I welcome you to today's evening broadcast. And as the title here for this evening series, the army invasion of Awo-Omamma in Imo State and accept, an unacceptable state aggression by those we pay with our taxes to protect us. There is this report that the Nigerian army, after having exchanged gunfire with unknown gunmen, as they wish to call them, after these altercations, that they went round the community peopled by innocent men, women, children, and they descended on this community, started setting houses ablaze. You know, there are videos making rounds that I believe many of us watching now might have seen these videos. And these videos can only do one thing, which is it breaks someone's heart. Now, to have this conversation this evening, I have here in the studio a couple of colleagues in this line of business. I have here um, Newsband, that is the CEO of Newsband, here with us. And I also have Marcel Ngobohe here. Marcel and gentlemen, welcome to Njenje Media TV. Marcel, can you hear me?
Thank you very much.
Yes, I can hear you, but I think
Okay.
there's a slight breakage, but I can hear you clearly now.
Okay. So let me start with Newsband. Maybe before we start, for the benefit of the viewers watching us, let me quickly play us this video and have our view. I will start with Newsband. I would want you to
Nigeria
respond
Army don do for Award Junction.
after this video.
Look at wetin Nigeria Army don do for Award Junction. Look at wetin Nigeria Army don do for Award Junction. The whole junction is on fire. The whole Awo-Omamma junction is on fire. The whole Awo-Omamma junction is on fire.
Can you guys see the video?
There's no corner of Awo-Omamma junction that is not.
No.
Okay. So let me quickly. I don't know what's wrong there, but let me. Anyway, but I believe before now you have seen the video. While I will go back and see if I can bring the video back. But
Look at wetin Nigeria Army don do for Award Junction.
Quickly respond.
Look at wetin Nigeria Army don do for Award Junction. The whole junction is on fire.
That
the whole Awo-Omamma junction is on fire.
In that video.
The whole Awo-Omamma junction is on fire. There's no corner of Awo-Omamma junction that is not on fire. God help us from this shame.
Are you there?
Look at.
But the video.
Look at that one, the whole Award junction.
Yeah.
Look at.
I think we have lost Maz, right? Dan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think it's back.
So go ahead. Can you,
Dan,
are you able to respond to that video?
Yeah, I can hear you. Well,
So go ahead. Can you, are you able to respond to that video?
Okay, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Well,
So go ahead.
the report we are getting is that. Okay, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Well,
Go ahead. We can hear
the
you.
report we are getting is that the report we are getting from. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Well,
Go ahead. We can hear
the
you.
report we are getting is that the report we are getting from. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Well,
Go ahead. We can hear you. We can hear you.
At Awo-Omamma on Monday, what we are getting from that there was an attack.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Well,
Go ahead. We can hear you. We can hear you.
Awo-Omamma on Monday, what we are getting from a military officer, just one military
Yes,
officer.
we can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead, we can hear you.
Now, Awo-Omamma on Monday, military recruits just 1 minute from the town.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Now, Awo-Omamma on Monday, military recruits just 1 minute. I think there are multiple but
Go ahead, we can hear you.
now, is it me? Are you having the same
We can hear you. We can hear you.
I think there are multiple but now, is it me? Are you having the same
We can hear you. We can hear you.
I think there are multiple but
Okay, Marcel. Let me bring in Marcel here. So, Marcel, what's your take? We can hear you.
I think there's a lot of
Okay, Marcel.
background noise,
Let me
but
bring in
we
Marcel.
can
here.
we
So,
can.
Marcel,
There seems like a
what's your
replay of your
We can hear you.
you can hear you, we can hear you. So
Okay, Marcel.
background noise,
Let me
but
bring in
we
Marcel.
can
YouTube on.
there seems like a replay
Okay, go ahead.
of your you can hear you, we can hear
Marcel,
you.
go ahead. Let me
Background noise,
go ahead while I go out.
YouTube on.
there
Go
seems like
ahead.
a replay
Okay, go ahead.
of your you can hear you, we can hear you.
Marcel, go ahead while I go out. Go ahead while I go out.
There seems like a replay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so from my perspective,
Marcel, go ahead while I go out.
I tend to look at people from what is their track record or what kind of image have they had in the past, or who have they been in the past. And judging from what has been happening in the country within the past 3 4 years, the army has not had a very good outing in Nigeria, particularly. So if you watch that video, it was very clear. There was an instance where they said there was an exchange of fire for more than that people were locked in their houses for more than 3 to 4 hours. And just when they stepped out, that's when they saw the fire, that the whole place is on fire. And the person recording the video made it clear that the army had set the the particular place on fire. So I think the army has to come up with a very strong video evidence to show that they left that place intact as at when they were leaving. Anything short of that, then they have a lot of explanations to give in terms of having to set people's houses on fire, people that were not involved in any hostility. I mean, in the whole world tends to protect civilian locations. In the whole world tends to protect infrastructures, tend to protect houses and people livelihood. But in Nigeria, it is a different ballgame entirely. You have an army that is more or less like an arsonist. I know the chief of army staff really, really have to rise up, because otherwise he's going to end up in history, Nigerian history, as a chief of army staff, where during his tenure we have arsonists in military uniform that were given powers to do as they wish. So the army really have to come up. They have to tell us exactly what happened. They have to present an evidence that says, whereas when we left here, this place was intact. That is the only way they could extricate themselves from that. And if the chief of army staff wants to be a very, very responsible leadership, what I expect now is for him to set up a panel of inquiries to find out exactly what happened. Who is the leader of the military at that location? Who is the military commander? He needs to get all of them on board and get out exactly what happened. And then, if truly that happened, he should punish them and think of compensations. For those people whose means of livelihood have been destroyed. You are looking at
Wetin
Nigeria, where people
Nigeria
are,
may don do for
are
Award
practically
Junction.
suffering. People are suffering
Look
to make ends meet. People are trying to make ends meet in Nigeria in a very harsh economic situation. And then you are burning down people's businesses, burning down people's shops, burning down people's means of livelihood. Are you trying to quell criminalism, or you are trying to increase it? So I think the government needs to rise up. Buhari has been quiet, in most of these things, he's just quiet. And I think the citizens also should need to rise up and demand justice. The people whose properties has been burnt, the people whose shops has been touched, should seek legal counsel. The army is not above the law. They can take the army to the court. And I think that is what Nigerians should test. They are being paid by the people's money. People are taxed, and they are paid. So they are paid to protect you. So if they are not protecting you, the chief of army staff should be dragged to the court. Let him come to our court and explain why the weapon we have given him and the personnel we have given him is now being turned against the civilians, the people he is supposed to protect. We need a lot of explanations. Sitting in a government office does not keep you above the law. Sitting in a government office does not even make you irresponsible. You can't be a tiger to the people you are supposed to protect. The army needs to be brought up at this point. Enough is enough. And this is not the first time we heard they are burning houses. It's been their modus operandi. You have Odi, Benue. I mean, if you look at the history of that, but what we are saying now at this point, it has become extremely, as it is happening at a very, very high level. The last time we saw a video on the internet where you see army guys with machine guns shooting into civilian houses without any target. So I'm presuming that if there are kids in that house that are just roaming around within the houses, bullets will hit them. These are high caliber bullets, you know. And then the next thing you could hear is that the army made a press release that they should not be videoing themselves. Rather than calling them to order and court martialing those people that were involved, you are making a press release that should not video itself. So the army leadership, it is a kind of leeway you give to your boys that they will operate. It is kind of body language or the kind of instruction they give them they will obey. Unless you are telling me there's no longer discipline in the army leadership should be held accountable. We are not even talking about the soldiers on the street. This is the army leadership. The chief of army staff, the military commander of Owerri or whoever it is, needs to be called out. And this is the time we should do it, because today is Awo-Omamma. Tomorrow is going to be a place in Southwest. The next is going to be a place in Abuja, where these people just think they're just above the law. They could move in, raise the whole place, kill anybody, and then they walk away, and then everybody is quiet. It is time for Nigerians to hold their military to account. And that's my point.
Can you
I
hear
can't
me?
hear you. I can hear you now.
Okay. Where is the place of the governor, who is supposed to be the chief security officer of a state? And this started happening yesterday, continued today. I am not aware, unless anybody watching or any of you can tell me what the governor of that state has said. So where is this, the place of the governor in this madness? Newsbank.
Well, okay, let me assign a role to myself in this discussion. Let me first of all give how the military has responded. I understand the Nigerian Army has issued 2 press statements regarding what happened at Awo-Omamma yesterday. In the first press statement issued today, the Nigerian Army claimed that the troops merely dispersed rampaging members of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and their armed wing, the Eastern Security Network, ESN. The army claimed that the members of ESN were carrying out arson in Awo-Omamma, presumably trying to, for whatever reason, let me not speculate. So that press statement released by the acting director of Army Public Relations, 82nd Division of the Nigerian Army, Major Abubakar Abdullahi Ritz. Troops conducting exercise Golden Dawn have dispersed IPOB ESN hoodlums carrying out arson while enforcing the illegitimate sit-at-home order imposed by the proscribed group at Awo-Omamma community, Oru East local government area of Imo State, on 22nd December 2021. In the quest to compel citizens to comply with the unlawful order, IPOB ESN criminals indulged in harassment, intimidation, and physical abuse of commuters going about their lawful businesses. The criminals went further to carry out arson and destruction of businesses and homes at Isheke Junction along Owerri-Onitsha Expressway as a vendetta against the citizens for not complying with the illegal order. The hoodlums, who had earlier blocked the highway, set ablaze a commercial vehicle heading towards Onitsha. Vigilant troops responded to distress caused by motorists, and shop owners swiftly moved to the scene and engaged the hoodlums in a firefight. The troops overwhelmed the hoodlums, forcing them to scamper in different directions. The troops pursued the hoodlums to the hideout in Akata community in Oru East local government area, where a member of a member of the group was neutralized in the shootout. While the troops engaged the hoodlums in their hideout, other members of the group who alleged that some individuals had volunteered information to the troops mustered at Isheke Junction and set ablaze houses and businesses of law-abiding citizens. The troops again returned to the junction to disperse the hoodlums. Unfortunately, a gallant soldier paid the supreme price in defense of the people. So, there are other things said in that military statement about the background, but this is basically what the first response of the military to that sad incident that happened at Awo-Omamma yesterday. Now, this afternoon, the second press statement was released by the Nigerian military. And in the second statement, basically repeating, I think it's basically repeating what the first statement has said. So, the problem with Nigeria is that we don't really know where the truth lies.
Now, before you go further,
Sorry.
before you go further, let me, by the virtue, I've on the screen is the from newsband from what you and the organization published from the army. Now, if I'm looking at what has, what is written here that everybody can see on the screen, it means the Nigerian army says that they waded in when people who were trying to enforce sit at home, that they waded in to stop them. Does wading in stopping them, does that include burning of private individual houses? I mean, that's one area that is very confusing to me. Though, in one hand, according to this press statement, in one hand, the press statement says that the Nigerian army, basically they denied that they weren't the one that engaged in the burning. Now, having read the two statements, what do you, before we get to the first question I asked, which is the governors, what do you think actually played out here?
Well, at the risk of speculating what happened, there are two incidents here. I saw a video earlier released by a passerby, probably an innocent bystander, who is basically saying, look at what the military is doing at Awo-Omamma yesterday. That's what the guy in the video was saying. And now the army is saying that no, the arson was carried out by members of IPOBSN who accused the people of giving information to the military and therefore burnt their businesses. And that was when the army intervened again second time. Well, if we look at the number of houses being burnt, I don't think it sounds reasonable to say that it is just one building or one shop or one lorry, passing by lorry that was set ablaze. You can see multitude of properties being set ablaze. If we take into consideration that the Nigerian military has a reputation of reacting with disproportionate force when a member of the military has been killed, you remember what happened even when Obasanjo was in power in OD, for instance, where security personnel were killed and they sent in the military forces to almost wipe out an entire village and nothing happened. We have also seen several instances of that in parts of the Middle Belt and even in the Southeast again, where in trying to avenge the killing of just one soldier, one policeman, a lot of people with their arrests get disappeared and all whatnot. So I don't think the military has a credibility in this area. So that is the problem that the people are having, because of the army has always been in the habit of even denying atrocities carried out by a member of the security agencies and using disproportionate force, including extrajudicial killing, when avenging when one of them has been lost. So it puts us in a very difficult situation of really ascertaining what happened. But seeing that the army has accepted that one military officer lost his life in the process, it kind of distorts whatever they are trying to say. Because the question will now be, how did you respond to the loss of your military officer? What did you do? Did you restrict yourself to simply chasing after the unknown gunmen or whoever that carried out that attack on the military? So anything we are saying now will be speculative. However, like I was trying to say, the military has no credibility with Nigerians. Nigerians find it difficult to believe all these precedents being issued by the military because of their antecedents in this area. But again, another thing we have to consider is this happened yesterday. This happened yesterday. It happened on a day where every person in the southeast knows that the IPOB are in the habit of trying to enforce a sit-at-home order. Although you might say that, how do we know it's actually IPOB? Because IPOB has also announced that they are no longer enforcing this sit-at-home order. But everyone who knows that there are other paramilitary agencies, pro-Biafra activists, who are also acting in the name of IPOB, enforcing this sit-at-home order. We have people like the Biafra Revolutionary Front, we have the Biafra National Guard. So who really will be trying to enforce this sit-at-home order? So if it happened yesterday, whether it is IPOB, BRF, or BNG, it gives another narrative to what the military is saying. So I think it's a little bit confusing. No one can really, where I'm sitting now, I cannot really say that this is what happened. We can only provide a conjecture of what we think actually happened yesterday at Awo-Omamma junction.
But if we look at it from the premise that the witch cried at night and the baby died in the morning. Now, if you go from the premise that the military, over the years, it has happened in Odi, it has happened in Zakibia. We saw in the same Imo State, one of the videos, yes, the military recorded casualties, but in one of the videos, we also saw where they gave an order that says shoot everybody on sight. That was by a military person. In all this, yes, you're right in saying that this happened yesterday. In all this, my question, which was the first question I asked you before I get to Marcel, is what is your take and where is the place of the chief executive officer, who at the same time is the chief security officer of Imo State, and at the same time an indigene of that state, and at the same time a man who swore on oath to protect his people? Shouldn't it be that when you see such houses burning, isn't it enough for him to get out of his office and get in there and know what is happening in a place that he's been paid for to govern?
The problem in Imo State is that their current governor is not really, I think, my personal opinion is that he sees himself as a colonial officer. You know, when the British were the colonial masters of Nigeria, the colonial officer does not owe allegiance to the people he's meant to look after. He owes allegiance to the colonial powers back here in London. So I think Hope Uzodinma believes that he owes allegiance to the people that made him the governor. And so he will try to ingratiate himself to them. He will try to show that he's trying to carry out the mandate to maintain order in Imo State. And be that as it may, we also have to look at the constitutional provision where the governor is not in actual fact the chief security officer of the state in actual fact. But it is on record that Hope Uzodinma went to Abuja and called for military reinforcement. It is on record he said that he asked the military to deploy force to stop IPOB agitation in Imo State. It is on record that he has made several pronouncements to even sometimes he said it is not IPOB, trying to blame his political opponents. But I think one thing is sure, that I don't think Hope Uzodinma sees himself as owing his legitimacy to the people of Imo State. I think he sees himself as an imposition, someone who had been sent down to Imo State to pacify the state. So, the way colonial masters, like I said, pacified the people who were revolting against the colonial master. So his job, the way he behaves, he sees himself as there to pacify the state. And I think that puts him in a very difficult position. And that puts him in a very difficult position. He will try to show, the Nigerians in power in Abuja that, look, I'm doing my job to keep the peace here. At the same time, he risks, I don't know whether he even cares whether he's alienating himself or the people of Imo State. It is people, listeners who are not from Imo State will also note that this thing Awo-Omamma is from the Olu area. And this thing is happening a few kilometers from
Look at what Nigeria is on for Awo Junction. Look at what Nigeria is on for Awo Junction. The whole junction.
Sorry, I'm trying to, let's see if we can see the video. I'm trying to play this video, from what you're trying to say, so that we may have context to this, for the benefit of those who haven't seen the video.
On fire. The whole Awo-Omamma.
But for some reason, sorry, carry on then. Let me.
Yeah, he said it. Yeah, I think the video is here now.
Okay, can you see the video?
Yeah, but it's still.
Hold on. Okay. Now let's then listen to this video.
Junction is on fire. The whole Awo-Omamma Junction is on fire. There's no corner of Awo-Omamma Junction that is not on fire. God help us from this shame. Look at they have won the whole Awo Junction. Look at the Kenya shop don't burn. The whole thing from where they don't burn. Look at. He said one Nigeria, one waiting. One waiting. Waiting be one Nigeria. One waiting. One waiting. Look at. Hey! Come and see what I've done. Belly, I made a mistake. She will go for 9. I made a mistake. She will go for 9. Hope I made a mistake. She will go for 9. Look at what I've done in our junction. Everywhere is ablaze. Hope I lazy email. Look at people's house on fire.
Yes! Don't go closer to the police station for explosion.
Look at it. Look at it. Hope you're a bastard. Hope I'm taking on my swear. Hope I'm taking on my hope. Look at people's house.
Okay. I think for some reason Sorry, Newsband, if you may now continue, but for some reason I think the video is being stalled a little bit. So if you may.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that this incident happened just a few kilometers from Awo-Omamma's village in Imo State, Oru East local government area of Imo State. For if a governor sees himself as, owing allegiance to the people, well, the people who supposedly put him there, the people of Imo State, he should have been in the forefront. He will be there this morning to inspect what happened. He will be there this morning to condole the people. He will be there this morning to, to see what he can do to compensate the people whose property were lost, and if lives were lost, he will take actions to, to condole them. But so far, we haven't had any statement from Awo-Omamma regarding what happened yesterday. We haven't had any statement from him visiting the place to see things for himself. So at least that gives you the idea of what I'm trying to say, that he sees himself as, owing allegiance to the people who put him there. It is not for nothing that the people of Imo State call him Supreme Court governor.
Now, Marcel, you are from Imo State yourself. Now, sitting down here watching that video, I must confess, as a seasoned journalist, sometimes, or in most cases, you're trained to restrain your emotion. But when I see this level of calamity, and I say I want to throw my emotion out of the window, because I am visibly, when I say visibly, I am indeed angry. And I ask myself, Do we really have a governor in Imo State? Marcel, that is your home state. Do you have a governor in your state that something like this, irrespective of who was behind it, the governor, 24 hours after this incident, hasn't visited and we have not had a single word from him? What's your take?
Mazizi, I try to triangulate the economy of Imo State and the economy of that area. So, economy of Imo State is being run by petty business owners, where you have small shops. So people like set up small shops, and the profit they make from the small shops is what they use in taking care of their family. And then when I look at that area, I see markets like the Awo-Omamma market, which is very close to Uguta, and then all those shops along the Onitsha-Owerri Express Road. Those are just people, small businesses in which most of them support multiple families. And then if we go down to the hinterland, you might have the main Olo market and on all that. I was in the east in August last, and then I went through that area. Now, just before you get to Mbidi Junction, if you're coming from Owerri, just before you get to Mbidi Junction, I saw a military checkpoint, I think around Oguta area, with a lot of barricades. So they have a barricade, so they have like their checkpoint. I don't know whether they have moved, but as at then, there's a military checkpoint with a lot of how they heap up those their bags and barricades. So I presume that that's a highly fortified area in terms of security, and people were going about their normal businesses, with the military checkpoints, which obviously cause a lot of traffic. I remember spending more than 1 hour on that traffic. The military were checking. But one thing I would like to note is this: there's what they call an occupying force. Okay, even in war scenario, if an occupying force takes over a village or a city, that occupying force is responsible for preserving, if there are historical artifacts or whatever, he's responsible for preserving properties and life within that area. So see, we are not all dumb. So when all these military guys that thinks that most Nigerians are dumb sit in their office and scrape all those nonsense they call press release, they should know that they are not talking to dumb people. I think they should put a lot of intelligence when they write their press release. And I also think that the military public relations officer, he should put some intelligence in his work. So let us step back a little bit and look at his press release, join it with what has happened. If, and I put the word if, it is true that the hoodlums set ablaze that fire, what is a responsible military supposed to do? You have chased them away. You have taken over that location. What are you supposed to do? You are supposed to secure that location and call for support and rally around people to see how they can fight that fire, or call for fire service. But your presence should be there. Okay, your presence should be there. Okay, so let us make no mistake. From the video that I saw and from what I heard, those guys said that there has been a gun battle going on for about 3 or 4 or 5 hours, and they've all been indoors. That just when they came out, just when they knew that the military has gone and they came out, they found out that the military has set fire on all. So there is no any doubt about the fact that I am strong about it. I don't see any iota of doubt that the military are not the one that set up that fire. If they are not the one that set up that fire, then after chasing away those hoodlums, they should have stayed around, rally the masses, and see how they can save the property of the citizens. But it's up. And again, this is not the first time. There was a time they set up fire around Olo Okporo area, where you have a lot of casket shops that have, they're doing casket shops. This whole area was burned down. There are times when we also see a video of they going to a small hotel where they attack and then they set down that place. So is their modus operandi in the east? Let's not miss it. The military does not even have a. They should just take it on themselves and work on themselves. When someone finds out that he has done anything wrong, what you do is to accept responsibility and then take steps to assuage it. What I expect the military hierarchy to do, if I am the chief of army and if my boys has misbehaved, what I would do is to go to that location, do my own spot analysis, position security men, and help people salvage the little they can salvage. What I also expect the governor to do is to be at that location, speak with people, get first-hand information, and then take stock, compensate them. Think of a man that has a shop that is filled with goods, and it is from that shop he's feeding his wife, sending his children to school. You burnt it down. What are you expecting? Okay, so let us not mince words. The facts are very clear. The video is there, and then the military hurriedly scribble up, writing their own funny stories. If you are not the one that set that place on fire, you have a superior firearm, you have a superior force, then you should have stayed and helped quench it. Why didn't you?
I
Or
think
why didn't you secure that place and say and let us see you on uniform calling fire service? Let us see you on uniform with your weapon, securing the whole place and asking the people to bring water. Let's curtail the fire. Let us see you. So they have a lot of explanations to give. And
I
I'm
think
telling the people that owns those shops, seek legal advice. The military is not above the law. You can sue the military. They are not above the law. Seek legal advice, make your claims, get what you have in the shop, approach the court, you will get your money. It will take time. The organizations that are ready to come in and help, just make yourself available. The military and the chief of army staff are your employee. They are not above the law. They need to come and explain to us how they have deployed the resources we have put under their care. To me, it is simply somebody abusing his office. This is a clear case of abuse of office. You're being given an office with the responsibility to protect and not to burn down. To protect lives is an abuse of office, and that should be taken up.
you know when we come back to the military denial, recall that in the wake of NSAS, we all saw that the military, actually, Sahara reporters were the first people to put up the the news that the army went to Lekki. The military denied it. I remember that time. Twitter was not banned then. They actually made a screenshot of Sahara reporter's story and plastered it with fake news. Fake news, right? Now, they say once bitten, twice shy. If they were able to do that and plaster this as fake news, now here we are again. All we can talk about is unknown gunmen. Invariably, those we also saw uniform and pay their salaries are and have also become unknown. So we deal with unknown gunmen. Suddenly, we are dealing with unknown army because that's what it is. So if no one is taking full responsibility as to what happened, as Marcel said, it beats me and it beats me silly that you could accuse unknown gunmen of IPOB or unknown gunmen, whichever one, whichever nomenclature, that they are the one that set the shops ablaze. Now they set the shops ablaze. You are the army, and you failed to even make any intervention. Rather, you probably entered your vehicles and moved. Does that make sense, people? I mean, let's engage our brains here, but I don't think that makes sense. Newsband, what do you think?
The tragedy of the country is that the government does not care about credibility, and therefore its institutions also does not care about credibility. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It will simply be a case of where we simply ask the military, "Hey, what happened yesterday?" And the military will issue a press statement, and everybody will run with it. Say, "This is what happened." But where you live in a society where the authorities do not care about credibilities, it puts a different strain on the entire issue. And then where the civil society are also not given the free hand to go there. That is why if you listen to foreign newspapers, they will tell you this is what the government is saying, but that maybe CNN or BBC is unable to independently verify this story. But the Nigeria is a place where newsman cannot, for instance, step into Nigeria and say, let me go and independently verify this story. Because invariably that will be putting the life of the journalist at risk. And so because the atmosphere is not there for people to freely and independently verify stories, so we will always speculate, and then the whole thing will die in speculation. But I think the situation happening in Imo State, for instance, has got to a place where, like Marcel said, the citizens can no longer simply sit down. And you cannot ask the citizenry to go there and put their lives in danger. I think it behooves on the leaders of the community leaders, the religious leaders, the people who can speak and nothing will happen to them, to sit down and have a meeting with the governor and find out what they can do. And if the governor wouldn't want to listen to them, I think the citizens will have to step up and say, how can we stop these things from happening? I remember this is not the first incident where this thing is happening. In neighboring Osumo in Anambra State and Lille in Anambra State, we have a situation where the army also killed 2 indigenes of the community. And the leadership of the community issued a press statement and said, look, this cannot be happening. They issued a statement, made it available to newsmen. We all obtained and saw a copy, where they now narrated what exactly happened in Osumo that day. They provided the video carnages of what happened in Osumo and Lille. But I don't think such thing has come forth from Imo State so far. It was in a zone there, happened. And then now, Awo-Omamma, I think this is not the first time it's happening in that area as well. So I think the community leaders should step up and now tell the world this is what is happening in our area, so that it will give credibility. People will not say, okay, yes, the community leaders have spoken. This is actually what happened in Awo-Omamma on Monday, 22nd of November, 2021. So that it will now give leverage for any international body, any organizations who want to come in and intervene. Amnesty International Nigeria used to intervene, but I think they have also been browbeaten. I think they have also been intimidated. Admittedly, IPOB also have not health issues. I was reliably informed yesterday that some international organizations are now, stepping back on issues that concerns IPOB, because some of the activities have also not have to help to further their cause. I remember very well in one of the programs we interviewed the former commissioner from Adamawa State. One of the things he said in that interview was, look, and that was when Operation Python, I think the latest operation it's no longer Python Dance, I think Operation Dawn or whatever, before they came to Southeast. He said, look, Southeast should not start this, because you are dealing with a military that are mad dogs. He said in Adamawa State, around 2009, around 2010, that would be around 2011, 2012, 13, 14, when Boko Haram was almost occupying a large area. In northern Nigeria. They moved into Adamawa State. And what the military does is, in its own community, that community in I think it was the Mubi Adamawa State. The Boko Haram will strike. After the Boko Haram has conducted their strike, maybe ambush some military, kill some military, kidnap even their women, their children, and move their way. Then the military will come, round up all the males in the village, and people will not see them anymore. And the reason is that you people are collaborating with the Boko Haram. He said that is the typical standard behavior of the Nigerian military. And he said that Southeast should not allow what is happening to happen. Because if you do that, the military will simply be deployed to your area. And what happened in Adamawa State will be happening. And that is what is happening in the Southeast today, where you kill one military man and then 10 villagers will be killed. Church houses will be bombed. I'm not trying to excuse. This is not an excuse for the military, definitely. For the avoidance of doubt, this is not to excuse the behavior of the military. But But the IPOB has put the people of the Southeast in this sad situation where they may perhaps sit back and evaluate their tactics to see whether it is working. If you do something and it is not working for you, I think you should, sit back and analyze what you are doing to see what effect it is having both on yourself and the people you claim to be defending.
Thank you very much. So, Marcel, now, do you, for any reason, see, do you also see that, as we say in Igbo, he who wants to separate fight must start from finger pointing? Do you see this escalation, the burning of houses, to have its root in the killing of the soldiers in question that led to this escalation, irrespective of who burnt the shops or the houses involved?
Um, See, the reason why civilized country have made sure that whenever anything happens, they see to the end and justice is dispensed is so that you don't raise a disgruntled child that will wake up tomorrow and say he needs to avenge the death of his father or his mother or his uncle or whatever or whatever.
Correct.
When the military excesses again, it's something. If you check most of the troubles we are having in Nigeria, in fact, at times I just feel the military guys are into business. They like the troubles so that they can get more budgets and make more money. Yeah, I mean, if you look at how Boko Haram started, it boils down to their excesses. Where you will not allow the judicial system to run its course. You want to go in and activate force, use of force, the same use of force they took to northeast that bred Boko Haram, the same use of force that they took to the south region that bred Mend and all those areas. They are also bringing that use of force to the southeast. So at the end of the day, you are having a military that is stirring up conflict within its own in a country he's supposed to protect. You know, one of my friends once told me that one of the problems we are having is that Nigerian military is not involved in any external war. That maybe we should send them all to war. Let them go, and the government should send them to where war is happening, Syria or another place. Let them go and exercise their training. Because it looks as if at times when they are trained in warfare, they're not being allowed to experiment. So each time they have an opportunity, when they come to civilian locations, they want to do all what they can. The atrocities of the military, and let me be very specific, the atrocities of the military will set the country on fire. When you, who has the law, that is supposed to show people how to follow the law and ensure justice, you are the one breaking the law and telling people that might is right, then you should expect people to also follow that path. Look at the banditry in the north. The bandits or the terrorists, the Fulani headsmen, have realized that in order for them to play in this game, they need to acquire military power. They have acquired military power. Some of them have weapons that can withstand the military. So the military is, they are they are planting something in Nigeria that they will not be able to harvest. And I'm calling on the president to call them to order. You can't take laws into your hands. You can't. You can't take laws. You need to show people that there is a judicial process. Arrest, go and prosecute. And if anybody has killed any soldier, there's what they call surgical operations. You have all the paraphernalia of office, all the might to make your investigation and go straight and pick anybody that has committed any crime. You can't burn the whole community because they killed one soldier. Is the life of one soldier more than the life of everybody in that community? And this is the same community that is paying you. If today Nigerian military stops drawing budget from Nigeria, they will collapse. The chief of army staff will not even have car to drive. So the military has to be warned. The Nigerian military has to be warned, as in serious warning. Because if you check all countries, and people to understand that warfare has evolved, it's no longer a show of power. The US and others went to Syria, they are still fighting. They went to Afghanistan after many 20 years that they pulled out. The war happening in Saudi Arabia with the Hutu rebels. It's still ongoing. Simple drone, you control a weaponized drone, it will bomb the whole of your oil infrastructure. So they should need to understand that warfare has changed. It's no longer about, use of power. You need to learn to engage. Citizens relationship matters a lot. I want to see a military in which when they come into my community, people should be happy to welcome them. When I travel last, I was in Olu, that Olu roundabout. I was there trying to buy plantain from a woman that sells roasted plantain. And then I saw a military truck came in. About 6 military guys were at the back of the truck. They drove in. Now, there's an old woman that was standing beside me. Immediately she saw this military truck, she started fidgeting. She wanted to run away. And I was like, why are you running? I mean, these people are here to protect you. Then what I heard from here, I mean, he said very soon that they will start shooting and they will kill her. And the woman selling plantain told me the same thing. So the military, Nigerian military, I don't know what can be done to them, but that system needs a total overhaul. And to me, let's be honest, shame to the chief of army staff. I mean, under his watch, I don't know how you will call yourself a leader that leads an institution. You run an institution you run, all they do every day is to kill civilians, burn houses, and you are still sitting in your office as the chief of army staff. When you go to meetings, international meetings with other chief of army staff, how do you feel? You don't feel ashamed of yourself? So let us be very practical. The military in Nigeria needs a total overhaul and reorientation. Totally. As long as we have this kind of military, it doesn't matter whether it's southeast, southwest, whatever, insurrection will keep on happening because the military will want to go and quell. And when you quell, you kill people. The people you have killed their father, the people you have killed their mother, they will grow up with the pains in their hearts, especially when there's no justice, and another insurrection will rise. The military needs to be called to order, and that's my point. The chief of army staff needs to be called to order. Very, very important.
So thank you very much.
If I may interject there, you see, of course, I understand what Marcel is saying, but when there is an insurrection in a country and the military is called to quell it, the military does not behave like policemen. The best thing a country can do is to get policemen to do their job of maintaining law and order. But when it turns to insurrection and the military is involved, it is no longer the maintenance of law and order. It goes into the use of military force to quell an insurrection. Even the United Kingdom here, during the days of the IRA, you see how the British forces, the operations in Northern Ireland, is still causing issues till today. You see people killed when they were even unarmed during protests, when they're moving away, how this ransacked. It is not trying to justify these issues. But before you start agitation, before you start an insurrection, you first sit down to count the cost, to see whether you have the might to see it through. Otherwise, again, it's not trying to justify what they are doing, but people should sit down and do a proper reflection. It is a good thing happening now in any event that IPOB leadership is trying to be more reflective, is trying to be more sensitive to the damage being done in the Southeast. Unfortunately, there are now other more militant organizations now that have sprung up after them. I would blame the Nigerian authorities in this issue where they are not trying to differentiate between IPOB and those other militant organizations. And if you look at all their statements, they always say IPOB, ESL. It's either they are deliberately doing that or they're simply being mischievous. Because anyone conversant with the pro-Biafra activism in Southeast now will know that, like Senator Barry said, there are up to 30 or 35 groups now operating in the area. And not all of them owe allegiance to Nnamdi Kanu or even to IPOB in particular. And when you continue to blame those activities on IPOB, that makes you react more aggressively on communities where, because IPOB enjoys universal acceptance in the Southeast. So when you blame IPOB, it becomes it influences your action you take against the community who you feel are supporting IPOB. But when the security officials are properly to identify these other organizations and even taking into cognizance that Nnamdi Kanu and IPOB have issued a statement to say we are no longer supporting this sit-at-home order every Monday. We are no longer supporting some of these activities, killing. Like today, we also hear that in Imo State, a police station was attacked and a police officer killed. IPOB has clearly come forward to say we are not the people carrying out these activities. So if the security officials continue to blame IPOB for these atrocities, it will inform their activities against the community where IPOB enjoys acceptance. So I think the Nigerian authorities should realize, or I think they know anyway, just I think they are simply being lazy or simply being mischievous or simply trying to destroy the economy of the Southeast. Having said that, it is time for the leadership of the Southeast to intervene in this. We saw what happened last week when ASC Fair and the boy is good, Bazilika Amechi led the delegation to see. So I think it is time that other community leaders sat down to sit down, have a dialogue. Opuzadema is not a ghost. He's there in the Douglas house. How many community leaders have visited him to say, now let us sit down to discuss what is happening in Imo State? What of all these bishops in Owerri and all these archdioceses making noise all over the place? Anyway, I wouldn't know whether they have tried to intervene, but there should be such intervention to discuss with the governor about the way forward. Because the tragedy is when you try to leave governance to the politicians alone. The politicians most times are clueless. They don't know what to do. It is the civil community that will interject at this point to see that the lives of their community are preserved. And our people, the people of the Southeast should also learn to tone down their language and be more reasonable when dealing with this matter. Engage with the military, engage with their governors, community leaders intervening, and then some of these atrocities will be kept in abeyance. If there is no sit-at-home order yesterday, who would the military blame for what is happening? So these are some of the things they have to sit down and take into consideration.
Okay, thank you very much. So, guys, we will be rounding up now. That program is scheduled for an hour, and we have just a couple of minutes. Now, but before we do, we are now at the realm of solutions. Now, Newsband, one of the solutions you've obviously have inferred is the interfacing with the governors. I don't know if, while I do diplomatically agree with that, but if I put in my commonsensical cap here, I would somewhat get angry as well, because it's good to interface with the governor, but is the governor stupid? Is he governing cows? Is he not aware that this happened? See, that's the thing. I mean, I struggle to reconcile the two. He is the chief security officer of the state, whether you say it is written but not in action. Do I really care much? If he's not equal to the job, for Christ's sake, let him drive an aeroplane out of that place, in some certain words. But since he is there, must Igbo leaders of thought, community leaders visit him before he does the basic thing he's actually there in office to do? And that's my confusion here, and that's where I probably, in as much as honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what to say, but I find it so hard to believe that someone who calls himself a governor. Imagine now, let's play this scenario here. Any of us here, imagine you are the governor of Imo State. Tell me you'll be fit for purpose if whatever happened in Awo-Omamma happened yesterday, and you are the governor, and as we speak now, you haven't gone there, you haven't consulted the people, you haven't spoken to the people, irrespective of who was behind it. And is that person still fit for purpose? That's my take on this. So, Marcel, I don't know what's your take. Do you, for solution here, what do you think could be the solution? Obviously, that's your state. You might give us also a homegrown solution that might help us get out of this silly quagmire.
See, the Igbo system is a structured system, and anybody that wants to engage people already have a structure to engage, unless the person is not willing to engage. That is one. So I believe that if the governor is really sincere, he needs to come down from his high horse and begin to engage people. As an engagement this time around means identify all the stakeholders, bring them to a table, and let's keep talking. There has to be a way to find a middle ground to stop this mayhem. But again, above all, what I keep saying is this: if we look at the history of what has been happening in Nigeria, the same IPOB that everybody keeps pointing fingers at started carrying flags at inception, and we saw how the policemen with gun could surround them and shoot. Again, it's a society that doesn't respect human life. The entire country were watching when a group of people could be captured. Just flag, they have flag, and they were singing out that you capture them, you round them up, you shoot them live. I mean, we saw one that happened in one of the schools where people were shot straight. And then there was an amnesty report of where you killed some people, and then you pour acid on their dead body to disintegrate them. There's also a report of a video of where army captures some young men, and then you have to soak them in mud water and keep them in mud water. I mean, these are all things that adds up. And at that time, I was warning that the way the high-handedness of government will breed another Boko Haram. And believe you me, humans are humans. There is a level of tolerance everybody has. I'm not saying that everybody should go out and fight. What I'm saying is that maybe we should increase our level of tolerance and allow this government to go. My last statement also is IPOB and all the agitating group. I have told them, my strategy is very simple. If I do not want you, I will ensure you don't get to a position of power where you will use power against me. Even if IPOB is saying they don't want Nigeria, they want Biafra, there is a process, there's a system. Whatever path you are taking, as a side strategy, ensure the people that will deploy the military on you does not get into power. So go get your voter's card on one hand. Get your voter's card on one hand. The people that you can say, no, if this man enter here, he go send military to come fight us. You ensure he doesn't go in while you are carrying your flag on the other hand. So it's very, very important. You cannot leave governance to people, and when they get into power, they will use the same resources to fight you. Why don't you stop them? Stop them. Stop them. So you can stop them at the local government level, stop them at the senatorial level, stop them at the House of Assembly level, stop them at the state level, stop them at the federal level. And I hear people say, election don't count. My dear, forget what happened with Hope. It was a misnomer. If 90% of people in a voting age vote for a particular candidate and they follow their result, it will be very, very difficult for anybody to change it. So we know there are manipulations, but if you come out en masse and you make a statement with your numbers, you can determine who gets into a position of authority, and then you can know that this person will not deploy military might or will not deploy destructive tendencies on his people. Is very, very important. So while you're agitating, get involved slightly in the system and stop those that will deploy military on you. To the military and chief of army staff, you are practically setting a record for yourself as the chief of army staff that headed a military that is involved in arson. All you do is burn houses and kill. I hope that before the end of your tenure, there will be a turnaround of the military operations. I want to see a very friendly military that I can hug and support them. Not a military I will see and I will run into the bush. So those are the things we need to. But in terms of solution, the governor is ultimately responsible for things happening in his state, and he has to make a statement. Silence is consent in law or in any way. The moment you are silent on anything happening to your people, then it simply means you consented to it. I'd expected the governor to probably make a broadcast or make a statement and say that they will get root of, and then get to the root of it, not a political promise. Investigate, get people that are involved, compensate people, because people's livelihood has been destroyed. A lot of shops has been burnt. Compensate them, and then walk into their hearts. Even if you have come in through the back door, there's a way you can turn the situation around in such a way that in subsequent election, people will be happy to vote you. But you come in through a means that people do not like, and then you are now worsening the situation. I mean, it doesn't give hope. That's for me.
Okay, thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. Newsband, what's your last word before we wrap it up?
Well, like I said, it depends on how the governor of Imo State sees himself. Does he see himself as owing responsibility to the people of Imo State, or does he see himself as an imposition and therefore as an occupying force trying to please the people who put him in office? If the people of Imo State see his position properly that way, then they will not wait for Awo-Omamma to save them. I think they have to find out first of all who is in charge of the military, who is the commander of the military deployed in the state.
So who's going to serve in Imo State then? If the governor who has been sworn in cannot do anything?
The community leaders are there. The church leaders are there. They have their traditional rulers as well. Every Igbo community has a president general. They have the traditional rulers. They have their reverend fathers. They have their pastors. They have their bishops. These are the community leaders in every part of Igbo. So if they realize, after all, the people who went and saw Buhari the other day are not the governors, are not the senators, they are not even the recognized leaders of Ohanese and but Buhari listened to them because they command authority. They have legitimate power. So I believe there are also people like that in Imo State who will simply ignore Awo-Omamma and then sit down and find ways of how to speak with the federal government as to what is happening in Imo State. I believe the response they will first of all get is to go back to the homeland and speak to their youth. That is also very, very important. So while you are speaking to the federal government, speaking to the military authorities, also speak to your youth, speak to your people. How do we solve this situation? Because people know that some of these government are camped in that particular area, in the boundary between Imo State and Anambra State. And the military will automatically term people who allow them to set camp as collaborators. That is common in military practice. So what do you do to stop that? That is part of the discussion that should be going on now. Otherwise, like Chief Mbazulika Mechi told Buhari the other day, Southeast businesses have collapsed. People are running away. People are moving. Everywhere is in shambles. People are afraid. Like you said, when people see the army, they start running away. Someone told me on November 6th why he didn't go out to vote in Anambra State was that he looked out of the window and there are military everywhere. I was like, but seeing the military will make you to go out and vote, isn't it? The people are now afraid not only of the government, but also afraid of the military. So really, the community leaders have to sit down and interface in this problem. Awo-Omamma is not going to solve the problem from where he's sitting. The community leaders have to step in.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we have a caller here. Let's hear the caller before we wrap it up. Caller, would you say your name and where you're calling from and what's your contribution?
Yeah, please. My name is Dorothy. I'm calling from Toronto, and actually, I just had a glimpse of what you my brothers were saying, and one of the speakers was talking about the armies that are involved in Awo-Omamma issue. Actually, I don't know whether we understand that these are not armies; these are terrorists that's been recruited in the military. We should get that clear. Honestly speaking, any normal human being thinking and that is breathing this air God has given us will not subject these vulnerable citizens to this kind of level it's not acceptable at all. I don't know where, are there not human beings for crying out loud? Why on earth will human beings look? Recently they sent how many armored cars to Owerri there, expecting these vulnerable human beings to react so that they can do ethnic cleansing on us. Now these people are managing their lives with the little they can to sustain their families. And what do you want them to do right now? And the hopeless Uzodinma is here. Just, oh my God, look at how people's hearts are bleeding. What kind of country is this? What kind of country is this? What do we do with this in this particular issue?
Okay, thank you very much.
Because right now they're expecting us to react so that they can unleash mayhem to Imo State. Is that not what they're expecting us to do?
Thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you. So I think as we had the caller, I think let's situate one thing. You know, it has been the Zakibiam is not in the southeast. Odi is not in the southeast. It has been more or less their, as Fela would say, their regular trademark. You know, I think one of you here made an argument that the soldiers had always, or rather, they've been trained to, engage in the military. I think myself, you made that argument that they've been trained to go to war.
If the British government does not have the institutions that punish their military for any crime they commit abroad, I can assure you that the atrocities the British Army will commit in Basra in Iraq will be heart-rending. Even with the rule of law in the UK military, some military officers were still tried for what they did to Iraqi citizens while trying to maintain law and order in Iraq. In Japan, American military officers are being tried for rape after the Second World War, even much more recently. In South Korea, that is why in some Western countries, they kick against the establishment of US military base in their country, because the military have that tendency of, yes, we are here to maintain law and order, and then commit crimes against the citizens. And that is why the United States government have refused to sign the International Criminal Court statutes, to sign international laws of human rights, because they know that once they sign it, their US soldiers that was sent out to maintain UN peacekeeping forces will be tried and jailed for crimes against humanity. The military is that way. So I am reading some comments on YouTube, on your media. We are not trying to justify what the military are doing. That is wrong. But that is in the nature of their operations. What you should do is not to don't allow them to come into your territory at all. That is what you should do. Don't allow that. Even till today, what British soldiers did in Ireland, they are still being tried for it. One British soldier, for what the people he killed in Northern Ireland while trying to maintain peace, and he is 85 years. After pressure, after so many years, he's still being tried. He now died 2 weeks ago. And the British people they're rejoicing that our government is not trying as soldiers. The people of Ireland are angry that the man should have been alive to be jailed for what he did in Ireland. So it is not trying to excuse the activities of the military. But because you know that the Nigerian government does not have the institutions to try and punish them for such crimes, like here in the UK, therefore don't allow them to come into your territory at all. I have another comment. Someone does not realize what the military are doing in the north. If you know what Nigerian military is doing in Zamfara State, in Plateau State, in Kaduna State, you will weep. You will weep. They come into Zamfara, round up people accused of being bandits. No evidence. Disappear them. If you know the number of bandits, hundreds of bandits that have been killed, both innocent and accused and whatever, being killed up till this hour in Zamfara, Kebbi, Sokoto, Benue, Plateau, Kaduna, Yobe, up till now, you will cry. You Southeast have never seen anything. We have, so don't
No, I
because
think
not
no,
like
I
don't
think
allow them to
I
come in
think
and go.
I
Because
think I think the last point you raised, I think because obviously within the southeast, and again we are all human, um, that they do it in Zamfara, in Kaduna, and elsewhere, and get away with it. That does not, in any way, shape, or form, mean that when they do it in the southeast, we all keep quiet. That
exactly,
we have these platforms where, when these things happen in Zamfara, when we talk about it, it sounds abstract to them, and you invite them to come and speak on it. um, they have no interest. Does not mean that when it happens in our neck of wood we won't come out and we won't condemn it. That's they you know that they bomb, which honestly, if you see the way they bombed Kaduna recently, from the air, that they bomb the military, sorry, the bandits, and whatever on gun, whatever they are there again, and that our army, like the case of Sajo, I think I was in that interview when Sajo, the former commissioner in Adamawa State, actually was pleading that Ndibo should not allow the military to ever come to the great Igbo nation because they can only bring disaster. And sadly, it appears Sajo was a prophet. That which he warned is inadvertently what is happening here. But it behoves on you and I. You mentioned about the British having the structure to prosecute soldiers, even irrespective of how long it takes. Again, this system that they have today that really makes their soldiers not out of will, but because out of the, or rather, based on what the consequences they could incur by killing innocent civilians. However, it took them time to get to that point. My point, and my final point, is whatever it takes, that we must do within the ambit of law to ensure that such atrocities that we see happening today, if it happened to our fathers, happening to us, you and I, every person of conscience, including the army, the governors, the political leaders, traditional leaders, we must all come together to ensure that it stops, and it stops now. That which happened to us must, by all means, not happen to our children. Neither must that also happen to our unborn children. On that note, I draw the curtain this evening, and I say to every one of us, thank you very much for being part of this program. Marcel, your final word, then we call it a day.
Okay, Mazi, when I listened to Dan, one of the things he said that there are mechanisms in place in the UK to try and punish soldiers when they get out of point of duty. Is a natural tendency of humans when you are not guided by law or punishment to take laws into your hands and do whatever you want to do. I mean, put anybody in the office without laws, he will do whatever he like. So, and that's why I'm insisting that the Nigerian military has to be reformed. They has to be reformed in such a way that let the laws and the system work. Let the law hold them accountable so that when they are sent on mission, they don't behave like loose cannons. We need a responsible military. And I think that the chief of army staff can actually put his name on gold if he's able to leave Nigeria with a military that is very responsible. And that's my point. And then what I also said again is the outcome of military atrocities is always violence. Violence begets violence. I mean, we have seen it everywhere in the world. Violence begets violence. When you think you can use violence to crush people, another group will rise, another group will rise, another group will rise until the point when you find out that it becomes all out war. And at the end of the day, both military and the civilians will also be killed. The political authority needs to learn. It's very, very important. The bandits in the north cannot be engaged for a reason which we know. And then when I look at things critically at times, I wonder why this is happening. In the middle belt, where the Fulani herdsmen and the killer herdsmen are operating and cleansing villages and all that, our military are not being sent to protect them. We are not seeing military on ground. So a village will be attacked, a lot of people will be killed, and that village will be occupied. So where are the military? So somehow I feel there's a hand. So I feel there's something, there's a game going on in which they say deploy military in the east to quell them so that they don't have the capacity to fight back if they are attacked by other Fulani herdsmen or not. Then the middle belt that do not have capacity to fight back allow the Fulani headsmen to deal with them. I am seeing something that looks like that. It's just from the eyes of a discerning person to see that, okay, why is the military, the so-called almighty military, not used to protect the middle belt? What is happening in the southeast that the military has to be everywhere? What is happening? It's one of the peaceful zone. So what is happening? So the military command and the political leadership needs to explain to Nigerians, because it looks as if there's a game going on that will not be good for all. And the earlier we sit on the table and cleanse this up, the better for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that's a very fine place to anchor that. Well, everyone, thank you once more for joining us for this evening conversation. Join us next time. I am still Mazes, okay? And thank you, Newsband, and thank you, myself, for joining this conversation. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you.